They cornered the female soldier in the empty barracks, thinking she'd be an easy target. 6 against 1 seemed like unfair odds. They were right, just not the way they expected. Welcome to Motivation Unknown People. Before we begin this powerful story of courage, respect, and why you should never underestimate anyone, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today? And if you believe stories like this need to be told, hit that subscribe button and help us show that strength comes in all forms. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. 3rd week of advanced infantry training. The summer heat made the concrete barracks feel like ovens. But that wasn't the only thing making Private First Class Maria Santos uncomfortable. For 3 weeks, 6 soldiers from her unit had been making her life difficult. Sergeant Jake Morrison led the group, 6.2, 210 pounds of muscle and attitude. His followers were cut from the same cloth: Collins, Thompson, Rodriguez, Walker, and Hayes. All bigger than Maria, all convinced that women didn't belong in combat roles. It started with harmless comments during PT, snide remarks about how she'd slow down the unit in real combat. Then came the practical jokes: loosened screws on her rifle, salt in her water bottle, missing gear that mysteriously reappeared after inspection. Maria never complained. At 5'4" and 125 pounds, she knew she was an easy target. But what the 6 men didn't know was that before enlisting, Maria Santos had been undefeated in 3 years of amateur MMA competition. She'd kept quiet about it because she was trying to fit in, not stand out. That Thursday evening, most of the company had weekend passes. The barracks were nearly empty when Morrison gathered his crew in the common area. "Time we had a talk with Santos," he announced, cracking his knuckles. "Show her what happens to women who think they can play soldier." Collins grinned. "Maybe she'll finally request a transfer to some desk job where she belongs. Or maybe she'll just quit altogether," Thompson added. "Save us all the trouble." They found Maria in the equipment room, organizing gear for Monday's field exercise. She was alone, methodical, focused on her work. Perfect. Morrison stepped through the doorway first, blocking her exit. The others filed in behind him, forming a semicircle. Maria looked up from the radio she'd been checking and immediately understood the situation. "Evening, Santos," Morrison said with mock politeness. "We need to have ourselves a conversation." Maria set down the radio carefully and stood up. Even at her full height, she barely reached Morrison's shoulder. "What kind of conversation?" she asked, her voice steady. "The kind where we explain reality to you," Collins said, moving to block the room's only window. Maria scanned their positions quickly. 6 men, 1 exit blocked, small room with limited maneuvering space. Her training kicked in, not the army training, but the older, deeper conditioning from years in the ring. "See, Santos," Morrison continued, stepping closer. "We've been watching you, trying to be all tough, keeping up with the men, acting like you belong here." "I do belong here," Maria replied quietly. Thompson laughed harshly. "No, you don't. When we deploy, you'll be a liability. Someone we have to protect, instead of someone who protects us. You'll get real soldiers killed," Hayes added, his voice getting heated. Morrison raised his hand for silence. "But we're reasonable guys. We're giving you a chance to do the right thing. Request a transfer. Find a nice safe job behind a desk somewhere." "And if I don't?" Maria asked. The question hung in the air. Morrison's smile turned ugly. "Well, maybe you need a demonstration of what real combat feels like." Maybe you need to understand just how vulnerable you really are. He took another step forward. Maria didn't back away. You think this is combat? She asked. Rodriguez snorted. Lady, you have no idea what combat is. Maria's stance shifted almost imperceptibly. Her weight moved to the balls of her feet. Her hands relaxed at her sides. 3 years of ring experience had taught her to read opponents, to identify aggression patterns, to remain calm under pressure. 6 against 1, she observed. Those your idea of fair odds? Life ain't fair, Princess, Walker said. Better you learn that here than in a firefight. Morrison reached out suddenly, grabbing for Maria's shoulder. Time for your lesson to begin. His hand never made contact. Maria moved like lightning. Her left hand deflected Morrison's reaching arm, while her right drove into his solar plexus with surgical precision. The sergeant doubled over, gasping, just as Maria's knee came up to meet his descending face. Morrison collapsed backward into Thompson, both men crashing into the wall. Holy shit! Collins yelled, rushing forward. Maria was already moving. She ducked under Collins' wild swing and drove her elbow into his ribs. The crack of bone was audible. Collins screamed and staggered away, clutching his side. Rodriguez and Hayes attacked simultaneously from opposite sides. Maria dropped low, sweeping Rodriguez's legs while pivoting to catch Hayes with a back fist to the temple. Rodriguez hit the floor hard, while Hayes stumbled into a rack of equipment. Walker, the biggest of the group at 6'3" and 230 pounds, charged like a linebacker. Maria sidestepped at the last second, using his momentum against him to send him crashing face first into the concrete wall. The entire exchange had lasted maybe 15 seconds. Thompson, having pushed Morrison aside, swung a haymaker at Maria's head. She ducked smoothly and came up inside his guard, driving 3 quick body shots into his midsection before stepping back as he folded over. 6 men. 15 seconds. All of them down. Maria stood in the center of the equipment room, breathing normally, not even winded. Around her, 6 soldiers groaned and struggled to understand what had just happened. Morrison tried to get to his feet, blood streaming from his broken nose. What the hell? Stay down, Maria said quietly. It wasn't a suggestion. Something in her voice made Morrison freeze. This wasn't the same woman they'd cornered minutes ago. This was someone else entirely. Someone dangerous. Maria walked to the equipment room door and closed it, not to trap anyone, but to ensure privacy for what came next. Anyone want to know how a 125-pound woman just put 6 soldiers on the floor? She asked conversationally. None of them answered. They were too busy nursing injuries and wounded pride. 3 years. Amateur MMA circuit, Maria continued, leaning against the closed door. 8. Flyweight division. 27 fights, 27 wins. 18 knockouts, Thompson spat blood. You never said anything. You never asked. You just assumed I was weak because I'm small and female. Rodriguez was holding his possibly broken arm. Why didn't you fight back before? When we were messing with you? Maria studied his face. Because I hoped you'd grow up and leave me alone. Because I'm trying to be a soldier, not a fighter. There's a difference. She moved to help Hayes, who was still dazed from the back fist to his temple. Despite what he'd just tried to do to her, she checked his pupils for signs of concussion. You could have seriously hurt us, Morrison said, his voice muffled by his broken nose. I could have done a lot worse, Maria replied matter-of-factly. Collins has a cracked rib, not a broken one. Hayes has a mild concussion, not a severe one. Walker's nose is probably broken, but cleanly. You'll all heal. She stood up and faced them. I controlled every strike. If I'd wanted to seriously injure you, or worse, I could have. But we're supposed to be on the same side. Walker struggled to his feet, holding his bloody nose. Why should we believe anything you say now? Maria pulled out her phone and showed them something on the screen. It was a video from one of her MMA fights. Maria in the ring, methodically dismantling an opponent twice her size. Maria Lightning Santos. Collins read from the fight card visible in the video. Undefeated flyweight champion. I gave up a potentially lucrative fighting career to serve my country, Maria said. Same reason you enlisted, I assume. To be part of something bigger than myself. She put the phone away. But here's what I've learned tonight. You don't want me as a teammate. You want me as an enemy. Well, congratulations. You've made me into one. Morrison finally managed to get to his feet, still unsteady. Santos, Private First Class Santos, she corrected firmly. We're not friends. We're not buddies. We're soldiers, and you will address me by my rank. The formality in her voice cut through the room like a blade. Now, she continued, we have a choice. We can report this incident through proper channels. 6 soldiers attempted to intimidate and possibly assault a fellow soldier, and that soldier defended herself. How do you think that investigation will go? The 6 men exchanged worried glances. They all knew that attempting to intimidate a fellow soldier was a serious violation of military code. Or, Maria continued, we can consider this a learning experience. You learned not to underestimate people based on size or gender. I learned that some soldiers need more direct communication than others. Thompson wiped blood from his mouth. What are you proposing? I'm proposing we start over. From tonight forward, you treat me as what I am, a qualified soldier who earned her place in this unit. I'll treat you as what you should be, fellow soldiers worthy of respect. Rodriguez tested his injured arm gingerly. And if we can't agree to that? Maria's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in her eyes. Then you'll discover that what happened tonight was me being gentle. Hayes, still nursing his concussion, spoke up first. I can live with starting over. One by one, the others nodded agreement. They were beaten, embarrassed, and facing potential disciplinary action if the incident was reported. But more than that, they had gained a grudging respect for someone who had proven herself under pressure. Morrison was the last to agree. Starting over, he said finally. Good, Maria said. Then let's get you all to the medic. Collins definitely needs that rib x-rayed, and Hayes should be monitored for concussion symptoms. As they prepared to leave the equipment room, Walker turned back to her. Santos, why did you really join the army? If you were making money fighting, Maria considered the question. Because beating people up for entertainment isn't the same as protecting people you care about. I wanted to be part of something that mattered. And now? Morrison asked. After tonight? Now I know I'm exactly where I belong, Maria replied. With soldiers who understand that strength isn't about size or gender. It's about heart, training, and the willingness to stand up when it matters. 3 months later, during a live-fire training exercise, Maria's squad came under simulated attack. Without hesitation, she maneuvered to a flanking position and neutralized the threat, saving her entire unit from elimination. Morrison, now her squad leader, wrote in his after-action report, Private First Class Santos demonstrated exceptional tactical awareness, physical courage, and selfless service. She is exactly the kind of soldier I want watching my back in combat. The 6 men who had once cornered her in an equipment room had learned something valuable that night. Real strength isn't about intimidation or size or gender. It's about skill, determination, and the courage to do what's right even when the odds are against you. And Maria Santos had all 3 in abundance. 6 months later, when their unit deployed to Afghanistan, Maria was point person on 12 successful missions. The same soldiers who had once questioned her place in combat now trusted her with their lives, because they had learned what she'd always known. Warriors come in all sizes, all genders, and all forms, and the smartest thing you can do when you meet one is show them the respect they've earned.